Record.
The pointer. Here it goes.
So I'm recording right now. So go ahead whenever you are ready.
Yeah.
Present yourself and everything.
Okay. So good day, Felipe. Thank you for coming here today. Today I'm going to present you the results of my work on schools, on Cooking School Paris development plan. The whole presentation would last about 12 minutes, and of course after that there would be time for any questions you have. So I'd like to start with the background. Won't spend that much time on it because most likely you know everything. And the cooking school is operating for around 10 years by now. And it offers classes and guided tours, both to tourists visiting France and groups. The primary audience is mostly focused on tourists visiting France and who are interested in French cuisine, but also sometimes locals also book the classes, sorry. As for the primary goals of this whole project, I'd like to highlight 4 of them. And first of all, I was hired to help developing, analyzing school's business model, and you can see it via the link on the slide, and to create short, middle, and long-term development plans. The idea behind these development plans is to help school to attract not only tourists visiting France, but also French locals, French clientele, and to switch a little bit the image of the school, because for now, school appears as a tiny, pretty closed boutique school, but management wants to switch it a little to more opening and welcoming. Also, I was asked by you, in fact, to help optimize working processes by implementing some new tools, and I would talk a little about it in details just a little bit later. As for the limitation, as far as I know it, management wants to stick up with school's own budget without hiring too much outsourcers or attracting any loans. And due to very tight communication with the client, and you can see the extract of emails via the link in the document, 0 assumptions were made, so all the details and dates are pretty accurate. But let's move to the point, to project stages. The roadmap is also accessible via the link. As I've said earlier, I've divided the development plan into 3 sub-stages, into short-term, middle-term, and long-term. For the short term, I suggest to start it from 28th of October. It includes modifying the existing website, which is mostly a showcase for the school, and to add studying, podcast listening, blogging opportunities to it, and also to pay some attention to the marketing, school's marketing. As for middle term, which starts from the 9th of December, it includes launching of the online course and podcasts platform, which is pretty much itself. And as for the long term, which starts basically at the beginning of the 2020, I suggest to start looking for the suitable property and to open the second school's location. But for now, I'd like to provide you information step by step and about all the stages. And by saying updating the website, I suggest to develop a modern design, which include all the potential users' needs and all the improvements considering the courses, blogs, and podcasts. to develop this new functionality, which would request some extra staff, developers and designers, and to conduct some user tests, because without proper user testing, you won't know whether you are developing a good and relevant product or you just missed the goal and your target audience. As for the estimation time of arrival, it's the end of February 2020. Basically, development process would take us 4 months because it's quite a resourceful thing, actually. As for SEO and marketing, you told me that you already have a Facebook page, group page, but it's pretty abandoned by now. I suggest you to revive it, because Facebook is quite a powerful platform, and if you moderate the group properly, if you organize events, if you signifies about them, they are shown to your target audience, to your French locals, and they would be aware of your school and what's happening on your school. And also I suggest to register guided tours as an Airbnb experience program. It's also it's an easy goal to achieve, but it also has quite power behind it, because both your original target audience as tourists and French locals, they would be aware of tours you offer. And as you told me, these tours are barely profitable, and by reducing costs on promoting them, maybe it would help you to start gaining some profit of it. It won't take long. It takes like a couple months top, and I suggest this stage would be completed by the 6th of December. As for courses and podcasts, it would be also, well, it would require quite a while, as I suggest. It would request us 4 months at least. Well, starting courses, starting podcasts include, first of all, creating the program. You need to define what you would teach students of. And of course, recording videos and podcasts, editing them, that would require some, maybe some outstaffers, maybe professional operators. And after publishing the course and launching the debut podcast, we have to gather and analyze the feedback, especially about the courses, because maybe the program is too long, maybe it's too short, maybe it doesn't cover everything the potential client would like to learn. And as for further steps, it's not really specified, because it would require the biggest time span. It's the location research. The real estate market is pretty tough. So it would require all the resources and all the attention from you. Excuse me. So by the time I suggest you to start searching for the location, I expect that all the previous stages would be developed, completed, and published, so you can focus your attention specifically on it. So yeah, I've defined you steps, but how would we do it? I'd like to start from project methodology, and I've consolidated all the unfamiliar terms into vocabulary for you, which is also accessible via the link. And for now, I'd like to say that we would organize our work in accordance with the Agile model. We would integrate Scrum framework and split it into 2-week sprints. And most likely you didn't understand a word of what I told you just now. But I'd like to give you a little explanation on it. So Agile is basically a methodology. It helps you to define, to break up the general scope of what you would like to do into some smaller stages, or AKA builds. And when you focus on developing these builds step by step, it helps you to continuously develop your product or your service. As for Scrum, it's a framework within the Agile methodology, which allows you to focus all your resources on one smaller build, so you can develop, complete the development on this build in the shortest time possible. And the sprint is just a small period of time. Well, not specifically small, it can be adjusted. The common practice is 1 or 2 week sprints, but if necessary, you can expand it into 3 or 4 weeks easily. Well, in this time periods, you complete the predefined set of tasks. And before each sprint, you usually hold up a planning session where you define the scope for the next 1 or 2 weeks. And in the end, you usually hold a retrospective meeting, which in my opinion is one of the most important meetings in the development process, because during these retrospectives, you analyze all the milestones, all the mistakes, all the difficulties you faced during your work, and you came up with the solution how to avoid them in the future. So the successful development, the successful project development especially, is based on the effective communication. So as you've asked me, I came up with a list of tools. I've asked some of my colleagues, some of other professionals for their expertise. All the tools and links are on the slide, displayed on the slide. And what I'd like to say, the set of tools really depends on the project stage you are currently working in. And as for user research, there are 2 most common. They are Google Suite or Optimal Workshop. And Google Suite is pretty famous. We all know about Google Documents, Google Sheets, or Google Slides. And you can access them and use them for free. So you don't really need to pay for a corporate license. But on the other hand, Optimal Workshop, they provides you a list of specifically developed tools for the user research. You don't need to think which templates to use, how to organize everything. You just pay for the license and start working. As for design parts, for creative prototypes, for making mock-ups, for team collaboration on the design, I suggest you to use Figma. It also has a free license for small teams and a corporate professional one. It's pretty cheap. It costs $12 per month, but it provides you a very huge range of tools, which helps to cover all your potential needs when it comes to working on design. And when the design is completed, you have the set of mock-ups. You have to pass the result to developers. Figma allows you to copy styles of the elements of components, but it's not really well developed. In my opinion, Storybook is way better for this stage. And Storybook allows you to compose a guideline, an expressive, complete guideline. So developers, they don't really need to make some extra work adding styles to their project. They can copy and paste samples of the code, and it really speeds up the development. And for the whole team collaboration and communication, I suggest you 2 most common tools. There are Trello and Slack. Trello is a dashboard, a Kanban dashboard. All smaller tasks, they are composed into cards. And by clicking on the card, you can see what to do, who is assigned for it, who is responsible, when it should be completed. And you can also break up your whole project into stages like to be planned or in progress, done, closed. It's all up to you. and you simply drag the card from stage to stage. So it's pretty interactive and easy to understand, and even some of your co-workers, they are not really handy with computers, they would easily understand Trello. And Slack is a messenger. It works both on website, desktop, or apps. The biggest advantage of the Slack is the fact that they allows you to integrate with other programs like Figma or Google Suite and Trello. And it also allows to integrate some bots, which automatizes the routine. So you don't need to think about it anymore. It's pretty handy. That's all for now. I hope I gave you a pretty detailed pretty detailed explanation of what I suggest to you and what we are planning to do. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. And of course, thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much. So I like the presentation. So yeah, I do have some questions regarding some of the elements that you said. So let's start. The first thing that I saw, it was mostly regarding the process, when you were saying like what was the process that we were going to take. In one of the slides, there was updating the website.
Yeah.
I think it was one of the first steps. So, okay, give me 1 second. So you said we have short-term, middle-term, and long-term, right?
Right.
And then so we started with the short-term, which is, so let's go to the next slides. Yeah, and here you said, okay, so updating the websites, and then create the design, develop and learning, blogging, and podcast listening platforms, conducting user tests. But then, I think 2 slides after that, you also mentioned the podcast. So I didn't really understood if this was all part of the same, of the same process, or if they were different stages. Yeah, I didn't quite got that.
Well, they are parallel stages because when you update the website, you mostly develop the functionality. So it's work for programmers and designers. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to recording and defining the course program and podcast guests, it's all up to you, because we need your team, professionals in cooking, to prepare a program. And it doesn't really involve developers. It mostly involves chefs, managers, and operators to make up videos and audio.
Okay. But so we would start working on the website, and then at the same time we would start doing this podcast, right?
Right. And by the time the development process finishes, you would have all the pre-recorded videos. So we would just upload them on the website. Yeah.
And then regarding this part of the website, my question, I guess my most important question is, how are you gonna help us on this? Like, what's your role in this? Like, are you able to help us in this, or are you just gonna set up the plan and then it's for us? Are you going to implement it? Yeah. What's your role in all this?
Oh, I come with a team with designers and developers. Mm-hmm. So they would if you'd like to, my team can help you with the development stage, mm-hmm. and the designing stage, and the user test, of course. So basically with the first stage, completely. Mm-hmm. Okay. So as for other stages, as I know, you would like to not to involve as many outsources, not so many outsources involved, mm-hmm. So you can finish all the other stages all by yourself. So I would basically just help you with the management.
Okay. Then I guess my other question was regarding the tools. So I got really interested about two things. The first is the like, what is this like? So you mentioned Figma, and then you mentioned another one that was a storyboard. So, but I didn't quite got what's the relationship between the two. Sorry. Then,
Bless you.
so, but do you start working in Figma and then you pass it to storyboard, or you start from scratch from story? I didn't understood this two. The
Oh,
relationship.
yeah. Well, you start with Figma, and then when all the designs are completed, so you have a set of images, flat
Mm-hmm.
images, you have to pass this to developers.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the designers, they just describe in the document, and it takes a lot of time to make it a code. But both Figma and Storybook, well, a designer, he puts his mockups in it, and they create code samples, or they also called snippets. And the developers, they just don't have to do this extra work. They copy and paste the snippet, and it's done. So they can focus on, well, coding itself.
Okay. So what is so the process that you propose is doing the visuals in Figma and then pass them to storyboard, and the storyboard does these snippets for the developers.
Exactly.
Okay. And the last thing that I got really interested was the bots. Like you said, in some part that you said that there were some processes that could get automatized by bots, but I didn't. Yeah, you have to explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. Well, for example, the integration with Trello, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have assigned a task to anyone, and the task was completed.
Mm-hmm.
So the person, he or she, they log in Trello and drag the card that it was completed.
Mm-hmm.
And the Slack bot, the integration which is integrated with Trello, it sends up a notification into the channel. So basically, you got a notification that, oh, this task was completed by the person. You don't need to sign in Trello to look through the cards or maybe open your email. Nothing. You can just open the Slack and see that, okay, this one is completed and that one was taken into work.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think that's everything that I had about questions. And I think for so we finished this with the client. The next simulation that we're gonna do, I would like to go a little bit more into detail with the other documents. You know, like I will ask you, okay, so show me this. Basically all the links that you have, like start asking you about the things. So the roadmap, let's go and show me the roadmap, show me how you prepare this, show me how you prepare this. But for now, I would like to give you some feedback of the presentation.
Yeah, I'll basically put it into all your questions into narrative to make it more clear.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess the biggest question here that I had was this, like I got a little bit I was confused because you mentioned at some point, like, okay, so we're gonna take 3 steps, and then this is the first step, and we do this, and they have podcasts, and this is the second step, and then the third step, it was again podcast. So I was like, okay, but isn't it this the first step? So it was a little bit confusing. I think, I don't know how, like you should be a little bit more clear about that. And maybe putting numbers would help a lot. So for example, if you put like number 1, updating website, number 2, the marketing, number 3, in that way, when I'm on one slide and I don't really know if I'm on number 2 or 3, it would be easier for me to know, okay, so this is step number 2. It's like you know.
I would also change the CEO stage and the development stage, because it would be easy to connect the second step of the first stage to the first step of the second stage. Like we develop, you record.
Okay. So yeah, that was the thing that I think you should kind of pay more attention to, so that it doesn't get, so that it is more clear. And then the other thing that I okay. So okay. So in the let's start from the beginning, because I just jumped to this because it was the principal thing that I had in my mind. But let's start from the beginning. So on the first slide, there was there you said something about the background. The next one, the second. Yeah. So you were explaining the background. I think that it's important that you say, okay, so this is the background. Of course, you should know like a lot of that, because you are the you are one of the associates of the school. However, I would like to put clear what was my basic understanding, and this is how I base my project, because this is the background that you understood. And I think it's important, even if the client already knows his background, of course, that he knows what you understood, and then based on that is that you did your project. So mention something like this, okay, so this is like some of the background of the project, and like based on this basic understanding, or my basic understanding of the current situation of the school, I did this project. And it's important to say this.
Okay.
Okay, so that's for that. Then on slide number 4, I like that. Yeah, I think it was in the next slide. Yeah. So on the project limitations, I like that you mentioned the thing of the budget. You said, I don't remember the phrase. You would have to look again the video, but I like that you mentioned, okay, so I noticed that you have this, like you don't really want to change too much the budget, blah, blah, blah. So it's good, because it's like kind of paraphrasing what we said on the emails, but what the mentor is not really gonna know unless he really look into the emails in details. So it's good that you paraphrase these things that you and me, we talk on the emails, just to make it more clear, And then here you also mentioned about you also mentioned the emails straight away, and you said like I made several assumptions based on that. I think the message is the right one, but you have to change the words, because the words were kind of again, you would have to look at the video and listen what you said. But here the words, I understood it, because of course I know what you're talking about, but you should find better words so that it's a little bit more clear. Okay.
Okay.
Then the next thing, well, is what I told you about updating the website, like this thing of the.
Excuse me. What if I tell that? Well, with the help of tight communication, which you can see, blah, 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 I was able to gain a very clear understanding of the current school's business model and budget and expectations. So that helped me to build up, I don't know, better plan, help me in planning, something like that.
But that's for the project background or for limitations?
For limitations.
Yeah.
Or maybe that Felipe has provided me the most accurate data, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's important that you mentioned that you had some exchanges. For example, you can say with you, like or with Felipe. You're not necessarily talking to Felipe, I guess. So you can say that you had some communications with especially 2 important stakeholders of the company. So that allows you to make all your project based, like with 0 assumptions, but everything it's over there in the emails that you can see in this link,
Okay.
But like put it really clear, because it's gonna be, since it's like a role playing, and the mentor is gonna be like the client, but he doesn't really know, it's a difficult situation, so you have to make it really clear.
Okay.
but yeah, what you say, like, it's just about finding the right words.
Yeah, as usual.
So then for the next part is the part of the stages. And so yeah, here you should like, it's, I like that you put the numbers and the letters. And then for the next stages, like for example slide number 6, try to put 1. So 1, updating the website. 2, so in that way it's, you know, at least for me, that I'm a numbers person, you know, I like, it's more logical for me. Like, okay, so we're in step number 1 still, right?
Oh. Okay.
Perfect. Then here I ask you a question of, so what are you going to do? That's a question that you would probably get. So what's your role here?
What, on this slide, or?
No. Like, I remember that I told you, okay, so, but I have one question in all this that you told me. So what's your role? You know, like, so I think, well, it's good that you say, okay, so I have my team, blah, blah. But it should be really clear that your role is everything that has to do with, you know, like the user research and user testing. So if I was you, what I would say is, okay, so my principal role here is everything that has to do with user research and user testing, in order to make sure that our solutions are adapted, you know, to the users. So that's what I would do at first. Understand the context of the school and understand the context of its users. And then when we go to the development, like to the website stages, for example, which is the first one, I have a team of developers that I can offer you. And along with them, I can develop this. And then along with them, I can develop whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, try to be really clear about what's your role as Yana. And then, well, you can put your team into like the other things.
Okay.
And then for the marketing part, yeah. Okay, give me 1 second, but
I've changed the order.
Okay, yeah. So for that, for the marketing, then mention, like, I like the way that you say it, but no, without a but. It's just that you could say, making what you wanna, the reason why you want them to start moving their socials again is because we want to kind of turn on the word of mouth again, you know, because this, like Facebook and all these things, is basically making networking, like social networking. So just as a person makes networking in LinkedIn and meeting with people, a company, the way they make networking is with these social things. So this is, I don't know, but try to find a phrase that you can say there, like a sentence that you say, and it communicates that what you want to achieve is to make like this social networking for the school, and so that it creates like a word of mouth and the people start just talking about it. You know, that's what you want ultimately with this. It's not about getting more clients. It's not about making more business. It's just that people start just talking about the school.
Okay.
Kind of activating the word of mouth. I think that's an important thing here. And also in this part, I like that you mentioned also the same principle of the emails, so that you kind of paraphrase what we said on the emails of, okay, so I understand that this is barely profitable right now for the school, so that's why I propose to do this and this, you know. So this is basically just paraphrasing what we talked already in the past, but what the mentor is not gonna know, you know.
Yeah.
I like this. And then for the courses and the timeline, that's okay. And yeah, well, then for the tools, To be honest, the questions that I made was more questions like for myself. Oh
And
yeah.
what about methodology? Yeah.
Oh
That's
yeah.
the most
Yeah.
potentially unclear thing.
So the methodology, it's weird that the three image, there is no background. So okay, so
No,
here.
no, no, yeah, it was just an improvisation like 12 minutes before our conversation, and I decided to focus on the content, and then I would add
Yeah.
images.
What I would do is to put it, well, you decide to put it in 3 slides, but I don't know if maybe in just one would fit, or if not, you can put it in the center, you know, like, okay, so you put the methodology slides. Well, let's talk first about what you said. I think it was clear.
Oh, I can do a diagram like there is an agile methodology, and within it is Scrum, and the smallest element is Sprint.
Yeah.
Just to illustrate. Yeah. Please continue.
Yeah. Oh, well, so that's the way that you could show it, you know, but it's weird that it's on 3 slides, and of course the background you have to do something with that so that it looks like the same presentation. But what you said, it was, I guess you would have to listen again what you said on the video, like on the recording. For me, it was clear, but the thing is that I already know what they mean, you know, so it's kind of difficult for me to tell you if, you know, because I already know what that is. So it made sense for me. But I guess you have to kind of listen again the recording and say, okay, so did the words that I used were the good ones or not the good ones?
I would look for maybe some YouTube videos explaining what is what is the difference between, for example, Agile and Scrum, because I tried to Google it, and all the articles, they are, well, it's explicitly dry language. It's very difficult, even for me, for a professional, to understand what is written here, what's on display. It's not really simple. It's written the way that it doesn't appear simple.
Yeah, well, one way to avoid that, if you want to, is say, okay, so I'll use the agile methodology, and this is going to be divided into sprints, you know, and you can skip this part of the Scrum, because the problem, like the problematic here, it's always between agile and Scrum, right? Because some people use a Scrum as saying agile, but agile is like the big methodology, as you said, and then within agile there are different things, but it's just that the more known to the general public is a Scrum. So one way to avoid that would be to just take out Scrum and just say, I'm going to use the agile methodology, and this is going to be divided into sprints, and this is what an agile methodology is, the principle, and this is what a sprint is, and this is the principle. That's it. And maybe that would help you. But having a diagram there would help a lot. Like just to like something downloaded from the internet, you know, like just a diagram to kind of understand. And then, well, for the tools, actually, well, I myself, I have a question about Figma and Slack, because you're the person that uses Figma, and I'm looking if I start using Figma. That's another thing.
Yeah, maybe I should split it into 4 slides to show maybe some screens, some images. Yeah,
that would be perfect. As like the document that you did, that you have some screenshots. I think that would be better. Definitely.
Okay.
For example, you can say, okay, so Google Suite, what is that? Okay, so you know Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. Of course, everybody knows that. So here is just that, but online, and you can show how it works, you know, like in the browser. And then Figma, same kind of. So in the beginning, there was like these specialized programs like Illustrator or whatever, you know, like for designers. But now it's on the website, kind of the same principle. Everybody can access it. Like there is a lot of team collaboration at the same time. so yeah, it would be nice to look at some screenshots.
Okay.
And you have to find a better way to close the presentation. So something like saying, okay, so these are the tools that I propose to use. You already know the kind of like the first steps, the methodology that I would use. Now the only thing that we're missing is when do we start, you know? Something like this, and like just to finish, like, thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Like, just because the way you finish it, it was kind of like, okay, so is there another slide, or, you know?
And I probably have to move the deadline, because the first stage, it should start on 28th of October, which is basically tomorrow. So I have to, just to move it a little, so it would like, here is the presentation, and like in a week, the first stage comes out.
Okay. Well, I think that's all the feedback that I got regarding the slides and the narrative. So, so yeah, I guess the other, like the next session that we will have, it would be just kind of going over this again, and also going over the documents. But the documents, we already saw them. So the documents, we know that they are like they're completed. So that's why I'm not really worried about that. It's just about the questions of the process, you know, like, so explain to me what you did this, like what was first, what was then, etc.
Yeah, and I have to compose everything into a project plan, because last time when Anna was supervising it, she told that it was really convenient because everything is consolidated in one document. So you don't need to open like, well, of course you have the links and you have to click on them, but you don't need to look where is everything. So it's really easy to check.
You mean like a project report with everything?
Yeah, like last time with 50 pages.
Yeah, that would be, with the links, like links at the beginning. Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
It was basically your idea.
Oh yeah, maybe that's why it was a good idea. Okay. So I think that's everything that about the project. Let me just, I will stop the recording in 1 second.